Srimad Bhagavad-Gita as it is. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Today we are on Chapter 10. Chapter 10 is entitled The Opulence of the Absolute, and we're in the midst of the 4 seed verses, or Chatu Shloki of Bhagavad-Gita. This is the... thank you. This is the third of such verses, text number 10. So I'll just repeat the Sanskrit and then we can discuss Srila Prabhupada's translation and purport. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Let's repeat this. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport, in this verse, the word buddhi yogam is very significant. We may remember that in the 2nd chapter, the Lord instructing Arjuna said that he had spoken to him of many things, and that he would instruct him in the way of buddhi yoga. Now buddhi yoga is explained. Buddhi yoga is itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence, and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called buddhi yoga. In other words, buddhi yoga is the process by which one gets out of the entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this. Therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna. And when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. When a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in karma yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in jnana yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in bhakti yoga or buddhi yoga, which is the complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but if he is still not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instructions so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some work, some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to the activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to Him. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love. I give the understanding by which they can come to me. As we said in the beginning, this is one of the most important verses of the Bhagavad-Gita, and Srila Prabhupada's purport is also very deep, if very simple. Only 3 paragraphs, but very, very deep. Sri Madhvacharya, in commenting on Bhagavad-Gita, points out for us that these verses, they actually refer back to verse 7 of this chapter, which we can recall. I'll recite it. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo veti tattvataha so vikampena yogena yujyate natra sangshayaha. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this, there is no doubt. So according to Madhvacharya, these verses are spoken not only to show us, well, they're spoken to show us for sure, that there is a class of devotee who is so surrendered that the Lord reciprocates with him in the ways that Krishna is describing in these 4 seed verses. So not only is our faith strengthened that there are such pure devotees, but our intelligence is guided by the revelation here of how one is actually transported back to Godhead gradually by practicing devotional service under the proper direction. So particularly in yesterday's verse, Madchitta madgata prana bodhayantam parasparam kathayantasya mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. First of all, madchitta, one has to have his mind on Krishna. Our minds are on so many other things. When our minds are only on Krishna, then one has a further qualification. Madgata prana. One's life has to depend on me, Krishna says. Madgata. It's gone to me. Prana. Your life without Krishna will not be there. This is the idea. It's a very high state. Like the gopis of Vrindavan. There's only one reason that they remained alive when Krishna left Mathura. What is that reason? Why didn't they all die out of separation? Because they had some glimmer of hope that Krishna would return, because he promised them that. So this is called Madgata Prana. And such persons, Bodhayanta Parasparam, they like to enlighten one another. They share with one another their realizations of Krishna consciousness. As we apply these teachings, we get realization. We definitely get realization. And when we share what we have realized with others, and others do the same thing for us, this is what Krishna is talking about here. Rupa Goswami also tells us in his Upadeshamritam that to reveal one's mind confidentially and to inquire from devotees, these are some of the symptoms of love that we share with devotees. So, Kathayantasya mam nityam, he's only talking about me. When? When is he talking about me? Nityam, all the time. Just like my godbrother, Vaisheshika Prabhu. Anyone who has met him, you know, he only talks about Krishna. He never, ever talks about anything other than Krishna. This has been my experience for many decades. He's a very, very deep devotee. So, this is the character of the pure devotees. And tushyanti cha, ramanti cha. Tushyanti cha means they're pleased, and ramanti cha means they enjoy. Now, what exactly is the difference between these two? It seems to be a little bit redundant. Tushyanti cha, ramanti cha. If you're pleased, are you not enjoying? Huh? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur suggests, I think it's him, he suggests that Tushyanti cha means they're satisfied by the fact that they have an opportunity to perform devotional service. When I was in Seattle, Washington, the devotees printed up some mantra cards for public distribution on Harinam Sankirtana. And it gave the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then there's a caption. The caption read, please chant this Mahamantra while you can. Just to spur the intelligence a little bit. Wait a minute, why did they say that? While I can. It's supposed to remind you, you don't always have this choice. If we're sitting here this evening in Sri Vrindavan Dham, and we're listening to Bhagavad-Gita, and we're listening to Srimad Bhagavad-Gita as it is, received Paramparagat from Srila Prabhupada, we are very, very fortunate. And it doesn't necessarily last forever. At any time you can go deaf. At any time you can go blind. At any time you can go crazy. At any time you can die. These things happen to people just like you and me. They happen. Every day they happen. So don't take it for granted. It is not granted except for a short period in time. Take advantage while you can. So the devotee who has this opportunity, he appreciates. Tushyanti, he's satisfied that at least I can do some bhajan here in Vrindavan. How difficult would it be to perform bhajan when you live in Pyongyang, North Korea? Not very easy. And there are many other such places as well. It would not be any easier in Syria or in Afghanistan or other places. So, ramanti cha means they enjoy. What does that mean? What do they enjoy? They enjoy the prospect that at some point in the future I will be able to face interact with Krishna. They enjoy that anticipation now in the sadhana bhakti stage. And when they're siddha, when they're perfect in their bhajan, then they enjoy directly Krishna's personal association. Srila Prabhupada has promised us, if you follow this path sincerely, according to the directions of the bona fide spiritual master, then you will go back to Godhead. You will see God face to face. You can interact with him. You can enjoy with him in this way. So how does that actually come about? How does it transpire? And the answer is given in today's verse. Tesham satata yuktanam, for those who are constantly engaged. Yukta means engaged. Yukta also means properly. Uchita. They're properly engaged. Bhajatam priti purvakam. And they're worshiping me in full of love. Priti purvakam. Priti purvakam. Purvakam means they put love first. Actually, we always put love first, if you think about it. If we're in the material world, we put whoever we love first. And if we're in the spiritual world, we put Krishna first, Guru Krishna. So Priti Purvakam has to be there, but it has to be properly directed, as we said. So these are the persons to whom Krishna gives buddhi. Buddhi yogam. Yogam means connection. He connects the dots for them. He gives them the intelligence, buddhi. Srila Prabhupada is mentioned in the first paragraph of his purport. When does Krishna talk about buddhi yoga? In chapter? Who's listening? Second chapter. And not only the second chapter, many chapters. Where else have we heard this? It's implicit. Okay, all right. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. Implicit, that this person has become most intelligent. Or, yes, no, I'm thinking in chapter 18. Sabuddhiman manusyeshu. The person who has actually taken to Krishna consciousness seriously and is also sincerely engaged in spreading Krishna consciousness. Krishna says there's nobody in this world more intelligent than that man. Buddhi. This is buddhi yoga. So many places. So, therefore, bhakti yoga is sometimes, buddhi yoga is basically synonymous with bhakti yoga. But it is that particular stage of bhakti in which Krishna personally gives you the directions that you require. Personally means he sends the bona fide spiritual master. We're all so fortunate to have Srila Prabhupada's books. How often do we open them? There's a joke about this. Bhagavad-Gita as it is. Just Just leave it as it is. Shrink wrapped in everything. Sometimes we go to people's homes to preach to them, and we see that they have the Bhagavad-Gita. Bhagavad-Gita to hai, lekin they have not even opened the shrink wrapping. Bhagavad-Gita as it is. That doesn't work like that. You have to actually take the austerity of knowledge, jnana tapasa, and then you get bhuta madbhavamagataha. Then you get purified, and then you can approach Krishna in this way. So, bhakti-yoga, Krishna will give the proper intelligence to those devotees who are sincerely following this process. In his second paragraph, Srila Prabhupada explains, when a person is pious, he knows that mundane life is not just meant for sense gratification. He's trying to elevate himself as best as his heart allows, depending on the condition of his heart disease. Sometimes people can't handle anything more than just punya karma, dharma. So those people are called the karma yogis. When a person is aware that the goal of life is to attain spiritual realization, but he's too much attached or attracted to speculating in various ways and looking at things from different angles, this is what munis do, then that person is called a jnani. And when a person finally realizes through the maturity of his jnana that I've got to surrender at some point and I've got to do something, then he's in bhakti-yoga. Do something. This is another thing that Srila Prabhupada illustrates here in the final paragraph of his purport. He says, one should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that should be with love. Now we hear, throughout Srila Prabhupada's books, we hear this particular stock phrase, this shibboleth as it were, pure devotional service, or what's another one we hear? Transcendental loving service. How often have we heard these phrases? They're set phrases that appear again and again. So they're very deep. Prabhupada could have much more easily translated the word bhakti as devotion. Everyone translates the word bhakti simply, devotion. And it's not incorrect. But the way that Srila Prabhupada chose to translate this word indicates all of the components that have to go into this mature, pure devotional service. Number one, brahmabhuta prasannatma na shochati na kangshati. Samas sarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. The person gets param bhakti, pure devotion, real devotion, when he is brahmabhuta. What does brahmabhuta mean? He understands, I am not this body, I am a spiritual living being. What are the symptoms of that realization? No shochati. He's not complaining, he's not crying or whining or blaming other people for his problems. Na kangshati. Neither is he distracted by everything under the sun in this world. Not chasing after this or that thing. Not dissatisfied, envious of others. Na shochati na kangshati. Isliye. Therefore he can be free of envy. If we are trying for something in this material world, we're going to be envious. Definitely we will be envious of those persons who have what we want. And if we are in illusion about why we're suffering in this world, then definitely we will be dissatisfied. Shankaracharya defines the word Shudra. What does Shudra mean? He's always whining. The person who shochati, yashochati, sa shudraha. So this is the idea. A person who is actually a brahmana, brahmajanati iti brahmanaha. It's not just a question of buying this, what is it now, maybe 5 rupee janeo. Used to be 10 paisa. It's not just a question of having the sacred thread. One janmana jayate shudra. By birth, by default, all you have to be is born, and you're a shudra. No problem. That is the entry level Krishna consciousness. But samskarat tu bhaved dvijaha. You can become twice born through what system? Samskara. What does samskara mean?
Purification.
Purificatory rituals. And Varnashram Dharma is included in that. It's a very important aspect. Srila Prabhupada often emphasized. So then one becomes twice born. And Veda Parthat Bhaved Vipraha. When you have studied the Vedic literature very seriously, you don't leave it as it is. You open it up, take the austerity of knowledge and try to learn something. And then you try to apply that thing also. Then you become Vipra, you become Pandit, learned Brahmin. Not exactly Brahmin yet, but learned Pandit. But Brahmajanati iti Brahmana. When one actually realizes Brahman by this process, then that person can be called a Brahmana, fairly. So it's not a cheap thing. And Brahmano hi pratishtaham, Krishna says, that Brahman realization is merely the basis of achieving pure devotional service. It's the substrate, the foundation, we can say, of the house of bhakti. So, Brahmabhuta prasannatmana shochiti nakangshiti samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate. Param. Kis prakar ki bhakti? Param bhakti. Pure devotional service. So, so that's the first thing. Devotional service, it has to be transcendental. What is the next thing? Loving. This is the emphasis here in Srila Prabhupada's purport. It has to be performed with love. Bhava. Buddha bhava samanvitaha. Krishna has said all over Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna says, Bhuta mad bhavam agataha. Bhava bhakti. What is bhava bhakti? Bhava bhakti means you feel something, actually. You really feel some love for Krishna. Some love. Not mature love, but something is there. So, but it's kacha, not yet pakka. So, we have to begin with where we're at. Whatever faith has brought us into this room here in Vrindavan tonight, that much faith, we should take that and invest it in this process. Where do we invest it in this process? Sadhu Sangha. Adau Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangotha Bhajana Kriya. Then the natural consequence of investing your faith in Sadhu Sangha is that the sadhus are going to engage you. In what do the sadhus engage you? Not cricket. Not Shah Rukh Khan. They engage you in Bhajana Kriya. And through Bhajana Kriya, what happens? The activities of bhajan, bhakti, what happens then? Then anarchana vritti. Sometimes people, they say, you know what, I've realized since I came to Krishna consciousness, I feel like I'm worse than I was before I came. Have you seen this? Or maybe you've even experienced it. Why is that? Because it actually means the things that you could not see, because they're so deeply packed within your heart, now they're coming out. It's a good sign. Sometimes when we take an Ayurvedic cure of some sort, or some even so many natural medicine, sometimes when you follow that thing, it is recognized. The initial reaction is that you start feeling worse. Your condition seems to be aggravated. Is it not a fact? Many times we see this. So this is what's happening. Bhajana kriya anartha nivritti syat. This is called anartha nivritti. The things that are not actually in your best interest. That's called anartha. Artha means something that is valuable. Just like Prahlad says about this human form of life. Tadapi adhruvam arthadam. Even though it's temporary, but it can give you something really worthwhile. You cannot get this in any other species. As a human being alone, you can practice Krishna consciousness. As a demigod, you cannot do it. As a lower than human being, sinful birth, animal, demon, you cannot do it. You cannot get knowledge or bhakti in non-human species. How many are there? 8,400,000 different options. Many of them are insects. The poet Vidyapati says, Kiye manusya pashu pakhi je janamiye athava kita pratange. You may make me as a human being, or you make me as an animal. Maybe I'm a bird or an insect of some sort, worm. Ye manusha pashu paki je janamiye atva kita patange karma vipake gata gati puna puna. Again and again, I may blow the opportunity that I have while I'm in the human form of life. Again and again, I waste it. I squander this great opportunity. But my prayer is that at least, no matter where I go, mati rahu tua parasange. May my consciousness always remain fixed on you. So, this bhakti, this gyan and this bhakti is only available to the human beings. And when we become matured in our intelligence and purified of all of our anarthas, then we can very quickly advance. Why? Because all the natural predators have been removed from the ecosystem, so to speak. No biologists here? When I was in college, they taught me this in biology. When you introduced a foreign species to a different environment, there's no natural predators. So what happens? It takes over everything. Just like, what do you call this? Kikar. You know this tree that grows everywhere? Everywhere it grows. From Kashmir to Kanyakumari, I'm seeing this everywhere. And the roots go down 125 feet and suck up all it destroys the agriculture. These things were deliberately planted by the British when they left India, just to destroy India's scope for agriculture. South India used to be covered with rice fields. Now you find this keycard everywhere. There they have another name for it, Tamil name. You know this one, keycard? It's everywhere. It's everywhere. So when the anarthas have been removed from our hearts, then the bhakti can flourish as much as that plant does, because there's nothing obstructing it. You see? You've removed all the anarthas, all the opposing elements. You've taken them out. That is anartha nivriti. So what is that stage called when we're fixed now? Nishtha, nishtha, you're strong. And what happens in nishtha? You just continue the same thing. Nothing is ever different. No change. You don't grow two heads. You don't follow a different thing. The same thing you've always been doing. You just continue. And what happens next? Ruchi. You get ruchi. Ruchi means not just a casual taste. In the beginning we have a casual taste, or recreational Krishna consciousness we do. Weekend warriors. In the West we see this paradigm. All day long they're working for some multinational corporation all week long. And then on the weekend they come to the temple and they do something. Kuch kuch hota hai. But, you know, an army of weekend warriors did not spread this movement in the 1970s. Anyway, ruchi means you have a really strong taste that, as we were describing in the previous verse, madgata prana, I can't live without this. It's not enough to come only on Sunday. I want this all the time. That is ruchi. And then what happens when the ruchi matures? Asakti. You cannot live without it. Like breathing. Here in Vrindavan, especially this time of year, those who are sensitive a little bit, it becomes hard to breathe because of all the pollution and all the pollen and all the dust. And so oxygen becomes very much appreciated. We're usually not conscious of these things, but we become grateful that we can breathe. Raise your hand if you're grateful that you can breathe. Yes, I hope so. Because if you can't breathe, you've only got a few seconds to do something about it, and then you're out. So, this is asakti, and asakti matures into bhava bhakti. As we said before, bhava means the dawning of pure love of Godhead, the dawning of prema. So all these stages are not exactly delineated, and not explicitly delineated here, but it is very clearly indicated. Priti purvakam means our devotional endeavors have to be imbued with bhava bhakti at some point, at least at some point. We should not forget that what are we doing here? We're only here to develop our heart. We're only here to develop some love. It's not going to make us millionaires chanting Hare Krishna. It's not going to teach us Sanskrit or make us into big physicists or anything like that. We're not necessarily going to get prestige or gross sense gratification or subtle sense gratification of various kinds. Usually people, when they figure this out after some years, then they leave. It is a fact. Krishna gives the statistics in Bhagavad-Gita. What are they? What are the stats in the Bhagavad-Gita? Manushyanam sahasreshu, out of many thousands of people, kaschid yatati siddhaye, one of them tries for perfection. Or, of those who have achieved perfection and are still striving to go beyond that, yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvati. Krishna says, what is that other verse? Me, nobody knows. Huh? Yeah, mam tu vedana kaschana. Nobody knows me. He's not so easy. It's just like on Facebook. On Facebook, if you get a friend request from someone that you don't know or don't recognize, and you're not sure, you just, better push the later button. You see? If we have this option, why not God? He's not going to take you into his confidence overnight just because you're chanting mechanically like a parrot and the rest of the time thinking about how to exploit his property or evade his authority in various ways. These are the two things that we do here, isn't it? Karma and Gyan means bhoga and tyaga. Bhoga means we try to exploit everything in sight or everyone in sight. And then when we make a big mess of ourselves, karmically, then we try to escape it through mukti, cheap mukti. One of my professors in college, Dr. Karl Potter, big Nyaya philosopher, he calls this leap philosophy. The Mayavadis and others, they have this idea that all you have to do is leap into some sort of alternate reality, and then that is liberation. It's as easy as that. If only it were so easy. It's not that easy. So, anyway, the point here is that we should develop bhava bhakti. We should develop some feeling for Krishna, some love of Krishna. And when that bhav is like the dawn. Every morning around 6:30 or 7, when we see the sunrise, then everything is clear. In the nighttime, it's not so clear. But at midday, it's much more clear. Everything is absolutely revealed. No shadows, hardly, you see? So this is the difference. Bhava is merely the dawning of prema, but prema is the actual thing, and prema means priti. So priti purvakam. One should worship, and one should keep this priti in front. Or priti purvakam, another meaning is it should be full of priti. Either way you look at it. Hindi mein isko bolte hain, no? So, to that person, dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayandite. The means by which he can actually get to me personally, then I reveal when he's doing these things. So this is bhakti. And exactly how that transpires, Srila Prabhupada has only hinted in today's purport. One has to accept a bona fide spiritual master, and that spiritual master will guide us. But exactly how he guides us, that is tomorrow's verse, the last verse of the Chaturshloki Bhagavad-Gita. So I'm going to stop here. If anybody has any questions or any comments, I'm going to have to leave early, but maybe one or two questions if there's anything at all. There's a microphone somewhere. We should be using this because people who are listening online, they can't hear anything unless the microphone is there. Yeah, I can repeat it.
I read in Bhagavad-Gita the concept of liberation and concept of bondage is illusory. Can you a little bit elaborate on that? I don't understand.
Bhagavatam says the concepts of liberation and bondage are both illusory.
I don't understand at all. What does it mean? Because it's mentioned about liberation going.
Because duality is itself a function of material existence. Bhayam dvitiya bhiniveshata syat. Bhagavatam also says in the 11th canto, when you see something separate from Krishna, when you see a second thing, literally is what it says, bhayam dvitiya abhiniveshata syat, then ishara paryasya, what is that? Viparyayat smriti. Your memory of your Krishna consciousness is destroyed as soon as you entertain the concept that there's something non-Krishna in this world. This is the problem. A pure devotee doesn't see that way. What is that? Stavara jangama, deke na deke pai. Yes. Ishtaspurti hoy, no? Yes. A pure devotee only sees Krishna and Krishna consciousness and service of Krishna everywhere he goes. Just like there was one Sanskrit verse. Anyway, the idea is that Sarvam Khalu Idam Radha. That's another way of looking at it, for those who know Sanskrit. So, everything is Krishna, or everything is Krishna's energy, and a devotee is very sensitive to that. Therefore, he actually doesn't see that the whole concept of liberation and bondage is just a construct for the material mind. It's like philosophy. We have 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas. They all have different siddhantas. Vishishtadvaita, Shuddhadvaita, Shuddhadvaita, Bheda-bheda, Achintya-bheda-bheda. But these things these distinctions all dissolve when we become situated in Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema. Because they are limited to the mundane realm. They're limited to the realm of mundane logic and the procrustean bed, we can say, of mental speculation. So it is with liberation and bondage.
When we are trying to understand Shastra, are we like kind of mentally, when we are trying to understand Shastra, I always feel that I'm only using my intelligence in that.
Yes.
So is it good? And first question, is it that...
Oh, okay, let's take one question at a time.
Spiritual realizations also.
Yes. So yes, the intelligence should be engaged. Prabhupada says, Krishnadas Kaviraj also says, you should use your intelligence in trying to understand what the Shastra is saying and discriminating on that basis. At the same time, you should understand that he is not revealed to you just by Bahushrutena or just by Vyakhya or other things. The Mundaka Upanishad tells us. He's revealed when he chooses to reveal himself. For that we always have to remain aware that Krishna doesn't have to allow me to see everything clearly. It's a process of revelation, and that revelation comes through divine grace only, mercy. So we're striving for mercy more than we're striving for enlightenment.
Just like you mentioned that Bodhyanta Parasparam. Krishna says,
yes.
That devotees I give mercy and enlighten them from within. So
yes, it's a coincidental characteristic of the pure devotee. This is what a pure devotee does. Text 9, which you've just read, this is a snapshot of the devotee's character. Machitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti charamanticha. This is what he looks like, in case there's any doubt. Krishna is telling us. And then he says, but ultimately, dadami bhakti-yogam tam. I have to give him. Nobody's going to come to me through some ascending process. It has to come from me. Okay? Okay, one more.
Can you explain what is the meaning of jnane prayasa modapas? That means we are hearing what we hear from Krishna.
Yes.
What does exactly mean jnane prayasa?
As a separate endeavor, you cannot cultivate either karma or jnana and expect that you're going to get to bhakti. It doesn't happen. So there is karma and jnana in bhakti, but it's divya karma and divya jnana. But these mundane things that have no tinge of bhakti, they're useless. That's what they mean. Yes, you had a question.
We hear many times that Prabhupada says we should hear in the association of devotees.
Yes.
But is that referring to that literal act of hearing and chanting in the association, or just kind of you're hearing and chanting and you're also associating with devotees?
It means both, but especially I would say means to hear with the devotees. This is in Nectar of Devotion as well. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, what is that? Asvadam Rasikai Saha. Yes. Along with Rasikas, those who are sympathetic. Those who are sympathetic in the sense that they're involved, they're invested in the process of trying to become devotees. Those people can help you. It's not just an academic exercise. So when we hear amidst the devotees, then this process goes on. Bodhayantam parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam. This is the idea. And then, however he wants, Krishna will guide us from within, as Chaitya Guru, or from without as Bahya Guru. Okay? There was a question back here somewhere also, one more. Then I have to go.
Sometimes we hear from
Mm.
So this brings up a thought when I hear that in my heart, for this condition, that is it should we discriminate who we hear from and who we serve, because maybe some have attained, some haven't. Would we
Yes.
bring more advancement from hearing those who have?
Yeah, that's a very good point. First, for the first thing, not only do we hear neophyte devotees lament, even after 40 or 50 years, that they have not become Krishna conscious yet, but we also hear devotees like Madhavendra Puri lamenting that he has not become Krishna conscious as well. So it doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. But as you added, it is a fact that some people are Krishna conscious and other people are not Krishna conscious yet. So we do have to discriminate who we're hearing from. This topic is described at some length by Lord Kapila Deva in the 3rd canto when he's instructing his mother, Devahuti. There are different kinds of devotees. Some of them are pure devotees, some of them are mixed devotees. We have to discriminate. Actually, although discrimination is a bad word in modern society, it is the key word of Madhyama Adhikar. Because Madhyama Adhikari's primary characteristic is that he sees a distinction between the Supreme Lord, the pure devotees, the envious, and what is the source one?
Innocent.
Prema Maitri Kripopeksha. Yeah, Balisheshu Dusa, yeah. Balisheshu means the innocent people who don't know anything yet. So yeah, we have to develop that vision to discriminate. And ironically, when we do, then we get elevated to the state where we actually don't see anything as separate from Krishna anymore. That's Uttama Adhikari. But in general, I don't think we need to worry so much about that, because there's plenty of service to do in the realm of Madhyama Adhikar. And this was being Prabhupada's example, and even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's example. It's something that we should also emulate. So although we have to understand that some people are necessarily Krishna conscious and other people are not necessarily Krishna conscious, we should always be aware that we may not know who is who. The Jains have a nice ideology called Syadvad. Syat is a Sanskrit verb that means something it might be. So they give the benefit of the doubt. This person may be enlightened or may not be enlightened, but I should be careful with him because I don't know. I don't know. You see? Or as a Hindi poet said, Tulasi is sangsara mein sabse miliya bhai, na jane kis roop mein Narayana mil jaye. You never know who you're dealing with. You see? Person may be a demigod, may be the Supreme Lord Vishnu in disguise. You don't know. They can do anything. Okay. All right. I'm going to have to stop now. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.